this strategic culture in Indian foreign policy. Just 2-3 lines. 2-3 lines. Strategic culture in Indian foreign policy. Strategic culture in Indian foreign policy. Right now, introduction. Western scholars claim. Western scholars like George Tanham, George P-A-N-H-A-M, George Tanham. Western scholars like George Tanham claim. Western scholars like George Tanham claim that India lacks a coherent strategic culture. That India lacks a coherent strategic culture. He attributes this absence. He attributes this absence to India's history. He attributes attributes. He attributes this absence to India's history, culture, geography, and influence of British rule. He attributes this absence to India's geography, history, culture, and influence of British rule. He calls India pacifist in nature. He calls India pacifist, P-A-C-I-F-I-S-T, pacifist in nature. Okay? Pacifist in nature. Right first, next paragraph. However, many Indian scholars such as Kanti Bajpayee, dynamic, B-A-J-P-A-Y-E-E-K-E-N-T-I, Kanti Bajpayee, comma, Dr. Jaishankar, Kanti Bajpayee, Dr. Jaishankar, refute, R-E-F-U-T, refute the notion that India lacks strategic culture. Kanti Bajpayee and Dr. Jaishankar refute the notion that India lacks strategic culture. Refute the notion that India lacks strategic culture. Refute the notion that India lacks strategic culture. Dr. Jaishankar, in his book, The Third Way, The Indian Way, very famous book, The Indian Way. Dr. Jaishankar, in his book, The Indian Way, in chapter Krishna's Choice, Krishna's choice talk about the rich with reference to Mahabharata. Talk about the rich strategic culture of India with reference to Mahabharata. Mahabharata talks about, and write down these words. Mahabharata talks about tactical compromises, balance of power, diplomacy, and alliances. Further, Kautilya's Arthashastra espouses, right? Espouses, E-S-P-O-U-S-E-S, espouses strategic culture through the Mandala Siddhanta. This we are studying. Mandala Siddhanta espouses strategic culture through the Mandala Siddhanta and the Shadgunya Niti. See the spelling. Shadgunya. S-H-A-D-G-U-N-Y-A. Shadgunya Niti. Shadgunya, six-fold policy. Shadgunya Niti. Mandala Siddhanta and Shadgunya Niti. India has a history of, last sentence for this topic, India has a history of engaging in warfare and territorial expansion. India has a history of engaging in warfare and territorial expansion. Right, the next topic. Vision of the New World Order. Vision of the New World Order. VWA. Vision of the New World Order. VWA. Write on the introduction. The world order has evolved. From Westphalian multipolarity. See, world order has evolved from Westphalian. This we are studying Westphalian. From Westphalian multipolarity to Cold War bipolarity. And later to liberal unipolarity. According to Dr. S. Jayashankar, so I would write him as DSJ, but DRSJ, Dr. S. Jayashankar. The current world order is at an inflection point. The current world order is at an inflection point. The current world order Then write scholar number 1, Dr. Jaishankar. Dr. Jaishankar. Rise of multipolarity. Rise of multipolarity and decline of multilateralism. Rise of multipolarity and decline of multilateralism. I hope you understand now the difference between multipolarity and multilateralism. Rise of multipolarity and decline of multilateralism. Number 2, Joseph Nye. He is the second scholar. Joseph Nye. Joseph Nye. This also we had studied in liberal theory. Robert Keohane and Joseph Nye. Joseph Nye. He calls the world order as 3D chessboard. He claims the world order is like 3D chessboard. He says that it's like a 3D chessboard. Okay. Point number 8. It is militarily unipolar. Militarily unipolar. Militarily unipolar. Economically multipolar. Economically multipolar. Militarily unipolar. Economically multipolar and politically diffused. Politically diffused. Militarily unipolar, US is military power, economically multipolar, multiple economic sectors in the world, and politically diffused. Okay? Then write scholar number 3, Henry Kissinger. Henry Kissinger. His books World Order. Henry Kissinger. Bracket में write World Order. Books. He wrote a book named as World Order. Point number 1. USA will no more be a hegemon. USA will no be a hegemon. No more be a hegemon, but a preeminent power. Preeminent power. USA will no more be a hegemon, but a preeminent power. Point number 2. China will emerge as a great power. China will emerge as a great power. However, not at par with USA. Not at par. Not at par. Not at par means not equal to. Not at par with USA. China emerge as a great power. However, not at par with USA. Number 3. There will be a cluster of middle powers. There will be a cluster of middle powers. There will be a cluster of middle powers. Bracket India, Japan, Australia, etc. There cluster of middle powers. Cluster of middle powers. India can be the fulcrum of 20th century. India can be the fulcrum of FULCRUM. You know what fulcrum is? You all have studied in science. Fulcrum of 21st century world. 21st century world order. One thing you have to understand here, there is a famous scholar named Shyam. He was an IPS officer and he has retired as foreign secretary. He wrote a book. Book's name is How China Sees the World. Shashwat wrote a book, How China Sees the World, in order to describe the vision of the world order and compare it between India and China. So what he says is that as per the Chinese culture, China sees itself as a middle kingdom. China sees itself as a middle kingdom. Middle kingdom. Middle kingdom means China sees that it is in the middle of the world, and therefore it is the supreme kingdom. It is the most important kingdom. It is the middle kingdom. On contrary, India considers itself as a Jambu Dweep. Jambu Dweep. Jambu Dweep. What is a Jambu Dweep? Basically, it says that the Indian culture, considers itself as the lower part of the petal of a flower, lotus. Now understand this. As per the Indian culture, see, there is some disturbance in the mind, so you have to bear with me. If the mind is not working and if you start shouting, then it will be problem for me also, problem for you also. So please bear with me a little. What he said is that China considers itself as a middle kingdom. What is a middle kingdom? Middle kingdom means that it is in the middle of the world and most important of all kingdoms. Whereas India considers itself as a Jambu Dweep mandal. What is a Jambu Dweep mandal? According to Sarah, the entire world is like a lotus. The entire world is like a lotus. India does not consider itself to be in the middle of the lotus. Please understand this carefully. India does not consider itself to be at the middle of the lotus, unlike China. China considers itself to be a middle kingdom, but India considers itself to be a Jambu Dweep. What is a Jambu Dweep? Jambu Dweep is the lower petal of the entire lotus, which is the world. So the Indian culture espouses that the world is like a flower, a lotus flower, and India is just a lower petal of the flower. Whereas China considers itself as a middle kingdom. Therefore, China wants that it still in 21st century takes a lead in the whole world and becomes a dominant global superpower. Whereas India is very comfortable with the idea of multipolarity. Understanding the difference in the vision of world order between India and China, Chinese history entails that China has always been a middle kingdom, which means it has always been the most important kingdom of all. Whereas India considers itself to be a Jambu Dweep. Jambu Dweep means the lower petal of the flower, which is world. So India considers that there is a possibility that multiple powers can exist together. This is the Indian culture. India is not a revisionist power unlike China. India does not believe in global dominance. India believes that the world shall be peaceful, there shall be non-violence in the world, and India should be one of the major powers rather than being the only major power in the world. So just understand this. We write about it.